All right, is my microphone working? I can hear it. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, this is so wildly a full circle moment for me because I used to live in Bend in 2021 to 2023, and I just moved to New York City 3 weeks ago from Portland. So 2023 to 2025 was Portland, Oregon, but I'm now an East Coast boy. I chopped off my mullet. It's gone, and now I live on the East Coast. But let's move in here. My name is Charlie. I use he, they pronouns. I'm the founder of Everywhere is Queer. We are the world's largest directory of queer-owned organizations, hosting over 20,000 queer-owned organizations globally. We are a free app on iOS and Android. And let's dive in a little bit more. So I'm going to ask this question in our heads. We don't need to answer it out loud, but what if design wasn't about just how something looks, but how it makes people feel? Again, what if design wasn't about just how something looks, but how it makes people feel? So I just want you to kind of like write that down, think about it as we go throughout this conversation. But hello, a little bit about me. First off, this image was taken by local Bend resident Brooklyn Wagner, Instagram up top. If you ever need headshots, Brooklyn is amazing, lives here in Bend, queer, incredible individual. In our app, you'll find that we have 26 different categories that you can filter between, photographers being one of them. So if you ever need new headshots, wedding photographers, you name it, we'll connect you with a queer photographer wherever you are in the world. I am now based in Brooklyn, New York. Wild to say that out loud. It's always been my dream to live in New York City, so I truly can't believe that it's happening. But I was raised in small town Wisconsin. Any Wisconsin folks in here? Ayo. The rest of my presentation's about the Packers, so you'll like this one. I'm just kidding. I couldn't care two craps about the Packers. I visited 47 of the 50 states. My rule is that I have to sleep one night in the state for it to count. I have Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Alaska left. And you'll find that throughout this presentation, my superpower is I'm a community organizer. I love to bring people together. I love to create conversations in small groups. And I've literally built an entire business out of it. I'm salaried, and I now live in New York City. But everywhere is queer. Born and raised conservative and Catholic in rural Wisconsin. So I didn't meet my first liberal person until I went to college in Fort Collins, Colorado in 2015. I didn't have a single adult in my life that would identify with the Liberal Party. But in college, I went on and I started 12 clubs in college. Clearly a passion of mine to bring people together in sports and this and that. But one of those clubs was the Yerba Mate Club. I loved the tradition of Yerba Mate. You sit in a circle, you share a gourd, and you chat with people. You get to know each other more. And I just loved the idea of that. And so I started a Yerba Mate Club. Well, Guayaki, the Yerba Mate company, the vibrant yellow cans, have you seen those before? They got word that I started a Yerba Mate Club, offered me a full-time job right out of college. Knew that I had a job 6 months before I graduated. My job, I was a rep for Guayaki, and I was 100% travel on the road, introducing as many college students as I could to Yerba Mate. They put me in an Airbnb and hotel every single night of my life. 100% travel. I did not have a home. I did not pay rent. I was salaried for the first time, very little salary, but at that time I thought it was so much. But this is when I started to experience communities outside of, Fort Collins and rural Wisconsin, and I met people from all over the United States. I had come out in 2017, so at 21, my junior year of college, and got this job January 2019. So I was freshly out, constantly seeking queer spaces as I traveled all over the United States. And when I was in New York City, I remember Googling queer-owned organizations for me to visit, and it was a Vogue article of 12 online queer-owned organizations to visit, or support. And I was like, this is not helpful. So this is when the idea seeded. But then 2021, I went and volunteered at Brave Trails, which is a queer youth leadership camp for 12 to 18-year-old youth. And at Brave Trails, I told myself, After 10 days being in a space of 100 queer people, I was like, that was the most euphoric experience I've ever had. I've never felt more safe, more I can just be my most authentic self, and nobody cared who I was. And that's how everyone, all 100 people felt in that space. And so I was driving from Los Angeles, where Brave Trails was, back to Colorado, where I was living in Boulder, Colorado at this time. And I thought of this idea, a worldwide map of queer-owned organizations. I pulled over my car, Googled on my phone, and I was like, wait, I don't think that this exists. I have no tech background. And I built our first iteration of Everywhere is Queer. I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I'm a friend, I'm a brother, I'm a gunkle of 4. I'm a pickleball player, I'm a volleyball player. I used to be a mountain biker when I lived in Bend, trail runner, marathon runner, half marathon runner, climber, paddleboarder. And now I'm a subway rider in New York. And I've been full-time with Everywhere is Queer since October of 2023. So let's dive in a little bit more of what I've built. This is my tiny little team. They are what make it happen. I am the only full-time person behind this entire platform, but Chris is our queer developer. It's a full queer team, but Chris lives in LA and is the only developer behind this app. The only developer, which just blows my mind that we're able to do this, just the two of us, in the coding aspect and design. Well, then Anna, our graphic designer, and Sean, our administrative assistant in San Francisco, but they all work 5 to 10 hours a week for me. So it truly is just a tiny little team making this all happen. I've taken on no funding. This has been completely bootstrapped, out of the kindness of our hearts, to connect the queer, trans, and ally community to safer spaces locally and globally. Okay, I have a question for you all that I do want you to raise your hands and answer this if you feel comfortable. If not, I'll answer it. Who made you feel like you belong, and what did they do to make you feel that way? Who made you feel like you belong, and what did they do to make you feel that way? Does anyone want to share? It can be a coworker, a parent, a guardian, a friend. Anyone? Yeah?
My aerial silks instructor was just openly queer around me, and I looked up to her.
Amazing. Here in Bend?
In Eugene.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Yeah.
The first time that I had ever come out to an adult,
Yeah.
was one of my language teachers back in high school. And what kind of made me feel comfortable is before I'd come out, he just the way he interacted with all of his students is he would just make fun of us very lovingly. He was very sarcastic. And just the fact that when I told him, it didn't change. And he would make fun of me, but now he would make fun of me for being gay.
Yeah.
And it was something about it still being normal.
Yeah.
That just really made me feel safe.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thanks for answering, everyone. Well, it all started right here in Bend, Oregon. Truly was sitting right off of First Street Rapids in my house upstairs when I posted my logo January 2nd, 2022 to Instagram. Right now, we have 136 queer-owned organizations right here in Bend, Oregon. Amazing. When I lived here, I had a queer community. I thought it was really special. I think Bend is a really, really unique, special place. But it's just continuing to grow on our platform. Let's make sure I'm saying everything I need to be saying here. When I started in Bend, I actually, fun fact, design-wise, I designed our app. So everything you see, I'm colorblind. So I did a lot of testing, a lot of things to figure out what colors I wanted our app to be. But you'll find our colors are pretty neutral, pretty retro, and it's what I liked. But yeah, where we started, you'll see the pin, the little blue dot of my location right there in Bend, Oregon. My friend said when I launched on January 2nd, just take a screenshot of this map. Maybe one day you'll want to look back at your first map that you built. So 3 months in, I was just posting to Instagram that I'm building a worldwide map of queer-owned organizations. How I started it was I searched hashtag queer-owned on Instagram, and there were about 80,000 hashtags that would show up. And I just started messaging the businesses, and I was like, hey, I'm building this resource. If you want to be a part of it, you'll fill out this Google form. It was a Google form that went into a Google Excel doc that I overlaid onto Google My Maps. This is what you can do. So if you want to make a free map, here you go. Didn't cost me anything to build. I built these pins on Canva. Like, look at how embarrassing those pins are. Oh, we've come so far. I didn't know how to make them smaller, and I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep going forward. And then we started to blow up a little bit. Canada, some in South America. And 3 months in, I was chosen by NBC as one of 30 queer trailblazers next to JoJo Siwa and Lil Nas X. Charlie Sprinkman, queer mapper. That wasn't on my bingo card any time in my life. And then now one of the biggest media sites in the world, picked me up for an interview, and that went out to 90 million people. And about April of 2022, I launched January 2nd. I had about 40,000 followers on Instagram. And that's kind of when it all started. Then we got picked up by a few more people. And I've never spent $1 marketing my business to date. It's all been through word of mouth, articles. This was my marketing. I was on NPR, The Skim wrote an article on us. But I could tell people really they were invested in this. They wanted to, they were interested in it. So I had a full-time job at this point. I was in corporate world. So I was just building this on the side. But where we've been, so then November of 2022, I got approached by Proxy, which is 2 women out of Seattle. And they said, hey, we are building this mapping platform. We would love to help you out. And so we transitioned our map from Google My Maps to Proxy. And then that's when we started to really grow. We went from 2,000 organizations to 7,000. That little number in there in the Midwest says 834 organizations. And over by Oregon, it says 483. But I kept posting on Instagram, and the posts just kept going viral and viral and viral and viral. And we just kept growing this platform. And what else was I going to say about that? No, Proxy was truly such an amazing step for us. We got to have categories for the first time. So currently to date, we have 26 different categories: bars, restaurants, real estate agents, lawyers, dog walkers, trades industry, hair salons, you name it, we're going to connect you to it. So where we are a little bit, next steps was our app. So October 2023, I had a viral Instagram calling out for queer tattoo artists to apply to be on our platform. Video went so viral, I think it's at about 6 or 7 million views to date. And my developer, Chris, who you saw, cold emailed me and said, hey, I would love to build this into an app if you see fit. And I said, hey, Chris, thanks for reaching out. Last quote I got for an app was about $300,000 from start to finish to develop an app. Don't have that budget. My business made $7,000 in the first year. I wasn't really building this business so to make a ton of money. But yeah, EIQ made $7,000 the first year, and I wasn't really looking, I didn't have the money. And Chris said, hey, I'm queer, I live in LA. Our community needs this. I would love to volunteer my time. I would love to go at a lower rate on a contract to make this to fruition. So October 2023, I quit my corporate job, and Chris and I dove into designing our app and developing the first iteration of our app. This was V1. But we spent 4 months together making it, and February 20th, 2024, we went live with a global launch. So I had 75 global interviews that I took before February 20th, and they all went live on February 20th, 2024. We had about 50,000 people download our app on February 20th, 2024. I have to share a funny story, though. When you develop an app, so if any of you are developing apps, first of all, feel free to reach out with any questions. I got a lot to say. But on iOS and Android, you basically go through an entire approval process. We got our apps approved by both app stores. And I think anyone in the room would think that you click the button that says, put it live on the App Store, and it goes live on the App Store. Well, we found out February 19th, 2024, at 7 p.m., I was like, okay, let's go live just right now so I can just make sure it works. and we get an email that says your app will be live in 48 to 72 hours on the App Store. And I have 75 global interviews going live that our app is available on iOS and Android. So my ex found on Reddit that if we can get a lot of people to download the app like right now, it can maybe go live quicker. And so I just blasted out to my community that our app is live and you need to download it right now. And at 6:07 a.m., our app went live on iOS, never went live on Android. Sorry, Android folks. It did a few days later. But at 7 a.m., I was on KOIN or Coin in Portland to announce the launch of my app. So it worked out for iOS, which is the majority of our app users. But we've also had a 95% account creation, which means when people download our app, they create an account. Most apps, your average is about 40 to 50% because people don't want to give you your information, but people want to access what we have on our app. And I'm proud to say that we have such an amazing account creation. And then this is when we went from 7,000 to 13,000 organizations. In June 4th, 2024, we added a job board. Our mission is to connect the queer, trans, and ally community to safer spaces locally and globally, all while supporting a queer economy. And we thought, well, what's the next step to connecting our community to safer spaces is we all need to find a job. And I think we would all like to find a job that our employers see us as our most authentic selves, queer or not. And so we have a job board in app. We do allow ally and queer-owned organizations to be listed on our job board. Our map is only queer-owned organizations, but our job board allows ally-owned. And if you don't want to work at an ally-owned organization, you can switch them off and only search queer-owned organizations. All right, where we are today. I show these 3 cities because they're small little cities here in Oregon, but we're on the coast. We're in Redmond. We're in the Dalles. I just drove from Portland, Oregon to New York City on tour with my business. We did a 4-city tour, Portland, Denver, Minneapolis, Milwaukee. We had about 150 people show up in every city. Really just a moment of queer joy. I think it's what we need right now more than ever. But we were driving through the Dalles and I pulled up my app, found a coffee shop and met one of the incredible owners in the Dalles. And it's just such a beautiful full circle moment for me to be able to just pull up my app right in the Dalles. Obviously, our metropolitan spaces were pretty well known. New York City on the left, Denver in the middle, Seattle here on the right. We have over 880 queer-owned businesses in Portland, Oregon. We truly, truly have become, and I'm proud to say, the world's largest directory of queer-owned organizations. I have another question for us. What's a small act of joy that's meant the world to you lately? What's a small act of joy that's meant the world to you lately? Anyone have a small moment of joy recently in their lives? Come on.
Coffee every morning.
Yes.
I've just been really getting into music.
Yeah.
Really feeling music.
Music. It's so powerful. I listen to music and I just start crying all the time. But I'm a Sag Cancer, so the cancer really comes in there. Did you have one?
Yeah, I was gonna say the free food.
Yeah. The free food today. Yeah. Pizza.
Yes.
Love pizza. Thanks to Venn Design for all of that. A small moment of queer joy I want to share. I received a message from a woman in Bend, Oregon a few weeks ago, and she said, I have a trans nephew, not in Oregon, and my trans nephew was too scared to come visit me in Bend. And she said, I pulled up your platform, showed him the places that I could take him. He came and visited me, and she said he now wants to come back and visit me many, many more times in Bend. And she said, thank you for connecting my family. We had a hair salon in rural Texas message me the other day and say, I received 15 new clients in 1 month of being listed on your platform. I've never received that many new clients in any month before, she said. And she said, you allowed these 15 people to sit in my seat and get whatever haircut they want with no judgment. And you've changed my life, and you've changed the life of these little kids. So I ask you all, I want to challenge you to find your superpower. I found my superpower in building community. You know, when I started Everywhere is Queer, my superpower was not in coding. It was not in design. I really, truly built this platform out of what I've experienced in my life when I can feel in a safe space, in a small group of people, what we can do at a global scale. So what's your superpower? Maybe it's storytelling, empathy, humor, persistence, or design. If every person in this room brought their superpower to one small problem in their community or workplace, we could make a lot of positive change. And I want to just say here, when you're thinking about your superpower, that doesn't mean you have to start a business, but think about more small, locally on your team, in your classroom, in your school project. What is my superpower? And how can I bring that to the table here? Because I think when we lean into each other's superpowers, we can make a lot of change, a lot of positive change. Everywhere is Queer doesn't just work because of me. As I said, I've never spent $1 marketing my platform. It's the millions of people that use my platform, tell their friends, are in this together. We've collectively built an Instagram following of almost 170,000, TikTok of 123,000, 100,000 email subscriber list. You know, every Tuesday and Thursday, you can join my email list via my website, everywhereisqueer.com. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we highlight 10 organizations from our platform from around the world. A lot online organizations that you can support right here and there. But truly, Everywhere is Queer is a community. It is not me. I'm just a part of it. I'm helping facilitate. Well, that wasn't supposed to be down that far. That wasn't in my... But for the next decade and beyond, I challenge you all on these three things. Design for belonging, inclusion as a core design principle. Design for accessibility and equity, prioritize marginalized voices. Design for everyday innovation, encourage small team-level innovations. At my last job, I started an innovation call with just the customer service team that I worked on. And the amount of magic that could come out of when you just put a small group together and have a conversation about new ideas, use each other's superpowers and brains to come up with the next thing. It's magic, I'm telling you. When we sit by ourselves, yes, we can get somewhere, but when we work together in a small group, we can really make change. I want to highlight 2 organizations from our platform as a takeaway here. Outcare and GLMA are 2 of the largest queer-affirming healthcare directories. So they are queer and ally. I mean, the healthcare industry isn't really queer-owned. So what they're doing is bringing together through, the people listed on their platforms have to go through a lot of like tests and education levels to be able to list it on their queer-affirming healthcare directories. So please, if you have family members who need queer-affirming healthcare spaces, download they're not apps, they're just websites, but these 2 are truly amazing resources. Again, Everywhere is Queer is a global movement. It's not just me, we're all in this together. So my asks for you all is, please help me make this bigger, allowing more queer, trans, and allied people to find queer-owned organizations. Let's work together. I'll hop on an interview with anyone you know that wants to interview me. I am doing this all by myself. I mean, I have a small team, but we gotta do this all together. I can't do it by myself. So I'm truly asking you, post in your Facebook groups, post on the Reddit thread, tell your friends, text your family. Our app is free on iOS and Android, available globally. If you know of a queer-owned organization, tell them to apply via the profile tab of our app. It's free to join. We do want the queer-owned business owners to apply themselves because we want their consent to be listed on our platform. We also allow queer serving community groups. So that's kind of our nonprofit category. That was actually in partnership with Patagonia. Does anyone know Patagonia? Yeah. Patty's amazing and sponsored that category to be built into our platform because Patty's connected to so many community groups. So our queer serving community group category is meant for nonprofits, your queer pickleball groups, your queer bike clubs, your queer running groups. We want that category to be built out so people can find community. Because you know, when you walk into a coffee shop, it's not just instant community. But when you join a queer pickleball group, you're more likely to build some community. So yeah, please do help us grow. Text your people. Another reason why I wanted to say that I built Everywhere is Queer is I grew up in rural Wisconsin. And as a queer closeted kid, you know, if I would have known of the queer-owned coffee shop that does exist in my small town, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, when I was a kid, just to sit at that coffee shop as a queer closeted kiddo and see queer people exist, see them have jobs, would have changed my life. So we've connected millions of people with that exact experience. Closeted, ally, whoever you are, you're welcome to use our platform. Thank you for being you. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Bend, for being Bend. It's so amazing. But we are all in this together. Thank you.